Do you or someone you know have student debt that they've accumulated throughout their degree and don't know what to do with it? Not understanding your student loan and following the crowd can make a huge implication for your future. The basics of student loans and what most people say about it is a good form of debt. It is because you're investing in yourself with the hope that your potential for earning later in life will be much greater than if you were just to go into a career straight out of high school. A couple years back, Canada announced that they had a student loan debt of around $22.3 billion. This video is going to take a deep dive into some of the most common mistakes people make with student loans and how to work around that. The first mistake applies to those who are entering into post-secondary degree or are currently in a post-secondary and it is not applying for scholarships, bursaries, or grants that are available to you. More than $10 million of scholarships go nowhere because not enough people apply for them. This is free money that's just sitting and not being used. You can find scholarships, bursaries, and grants from many organizations, governments, schools, charitable organizations. There's a huge amount of options around you. It's just the matter of doing the research and finding them. Now, to apply for a scholarship, it doesn't take very long. Think of it as a form of work. If you could do 1 hour of work and get a $2,000 scholarship, 1 hour for $2,000 is pretty good. The second most common mistake is not having a plan to actually manage your student debt. The average Canadian has around student debt of $28,000. Now, for medical students, this is obviously much higher. It's about 3 times higher at $90,000. Not having a plan to manage your student debt while you are in school can have bad implications for your future. It may cause you to take out other forms of debt, such as student line of credit or potentially credit card debt. Now, it sounds pretty simple. Most people understand the concept of budgeting, but budgeting while you're in school and living on a tighter budget, knowing your tuition expenses and being able to use your loan accordingly is very important so that you don't take on other forms of debt that could cause you to be set back as you enter into your career. The third and probably one of the most biggest mistakes that I've seen firsthand experience with is using your student loans for unneeded purchases. Typically, when you apply for a student loan, you're using it for tuition. It's not for you just to fund extra lifestyle needs that might not have positive value later in life. When you see a large lump sum come into your account, a lot of people get happy. They feel like, oh, I can spend that money now because it's in my account, and we'll worry about the tuition expenses later in the future. It's quite common for people to see this money and say, hey, I'm gonna buy a new vehicle, or let's go on a shopping spree, or let's spend money on a night out or dinner or something that might not necessarily be important later in life. My piece of advice, don't try to give in to others around you and follow the crowd. Try to make sure that you stick within your means so that you can further your education and not take on too much debt that will impact you later. Another question that I get asked, and a lot of people say, hey, well, I don't need the money. I can afford to go through school. I don't need student loans. And the question that I have for them is, well, do you want to build wealth in other ways while you're in school? Typically, I tell people to apply anyway. See what they can get granted for. See if there's scholarships or bursaries or grants that's just free money that you can just have for your schooling, and then you can use your savings elsewhere. During the time of your study, it's not incurring interest, so it's 0% interest even if it's the loan portion. You don't have to worry about paying it back because there's no interest charge. Instead, you could use that money that you get from your student loan and put it into an account like a tax-free savings account and allow it to have more interest and actually grow while you're in school. Upon graduation, then you will have typically 2 scenarios. You can either 1, choose just to pay it off in a lump sum and then take the growth that you had from investing that amount, or 2, slowly pay off that loan, just paying the bare minimum because the interest rate might be low or it might not have any interest at all. As of April 1st, 2023, the Canadian government announced that there is 0 interest on all student loans on the national level. Now, some provinces might still have interest rates attached to them once you're done post-secondary. For example, BC doesn't, but Ontario does have an interest rate attached to it. Now, we're gonna do a second part to this video outlining those 2 options. When you take a student loan and you don't necessarily need the money, looking at investing a portion of it or all of it, and then when it's in that repayment period, does it make sense to pay off a lump sum? Does it make sense to slowly make the minimum payments? Or does it make sense to actually just fast track those payments? And we're gonna look at varying factors here. So whether there is interest incurring, but also if there's no interest, what are the implications of slowly paying it back? And does it actually benefit you over a long period of time? Are you looking for a way to strategically maximize your wealth in every stage of life? go check out our masterclass. We break down various topics on personal finance that will help you in each stage of your life to help grow your financial literacy, but also help to build wealth throughout your career. Click the link below and get $100 off your purchase. Again, in our next video, we're going to look at those two different options, whether it makes sense to pay off the student loan right away or to slowly make payments if you don't actually need the money for tuition. Make sure to tune in when that video launches.